I'm Danielle, your host of the Abridged to Motherhood podcast, the place where moms like you learn to thrive, not just survive through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. I'm a birth and postpartum doula and a mom of two who's been where you are. My first pregnancy was filled with so much excitement, but it was also marked by stress, anxiety, and fear of the unknown. I thought I had everything mapped out, but when postpartum hit, I realized how unprepared I was for the physical, emotional, and mental toll of motherhood. It was overwhelming, lonely, and nothing like I imagined. When I found out I was pregnant again, I knew I needed to approach things differently. I made it my mission to not only prepare for postpartum, but to prioritize myself in the process. That shift changed everything. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Whether you're navigating your first pregnancy, feeling buried under endless advice, or struggling to figure out what you actually need for postpartum, this podcast is your safe space. You'll find practical tips, honest conversations, and expert insights to help you feel informed, supported, and empowered through every stage of motherhood. If you're ready to feel confident, prepared, and truly supported in your motherhood journey, stick around. This is for you. Hey friends, welcome back. I decided with Valentine's Day right around the corner, we are going to talk about relationships this week, and the episode is titled Keeping the Spark Alive After Baby Arrives. We are going to talk about how new parents can nurture their relationship and keep the romance alive after welcoming a baby. We'll discuss why prioritizing your relationship matters, not just for you, but your whole family, and offer practical tips to keep that spark alive in the midst of all those sleepless nights and endless diaper changes. As a postpartum doula and mom, I've seen how navigating the transition from couple to parents can be challenging, but it's also an incredible opportunity for you to grow together in new ways. There is nothing like seeing your spouse become a parent and how they interact with your baby. It really can be a whole new level of spark that emerges in your relationship. For many new parents, finding time for romance with the demands of a newborn can feel overwhelming or just flat out impossible. Some common struggles that I hear often include a lack of time to go on a date or spend intimate time together, exhaustion, feeling touched out, or prioritizing the baby's needs above everything else, including your relationship. There can be a lot of feelings of guilt about prioritizing time as a couple. There can be resentment that builds up. There can be a misconception that romance has to take a back seat during this season. It's easy to let your connection slip through the cracks, but if you are intentional about making space and time for your relationship, you can keep your bond super strong and even, dare I say, make it stronger as new parents. So let's talk about the importance of just very small, intentional efforts. I think so many times when we hear the word romance or keeping the spark alive, we think about these really grand gestures like dozen roses on the ground and booking a fancy trip to go on together. But really, strong relationships are built on consistent, small actions. After the baby arrives, it's just easy to overlook those little things that maybe you did before that really helped you to feel connected. But these are often the easiest things that you can do to prioritize your relationship. So some very easy examples could be sending a sweet text during the day, setting aside time in the morning to share a cup of coffee together, holding hands while you're sitting next to each other on the couch or during a walk. These are just such small touch points of connection that you can weave in throughout your day. Common mistakes to avoid are waiting for that perfect moment to spend time together, or just assuming that romance will come back later. If you do not make that intentional effort, what can happen very easily is just drifting apart over time, and that ends up creating more work to reconnect later versus these small intentional moments throughout the day. Next, I will never stop preaching that communication is key, even for the little things. We have to be so open and honest in our communication with each other to stay connected. The way that you communicate may need to adapt after a baby as you're facing these new pressures and roles. You may need to make sure that you're setting aside time when baby is napping to look each other in the eyes. Maybe you need to set up a new shared calendar. Maybe you need to put a calendar up on the fridge. Maybe it's texting throughout the day, but the way that you communicate may need to change a little bit. Clear communication can also help you understand each other's needs and expectations, preventing misunderstandings and resentment. I said this in another podcast, and I'll say it again because it really impacted me so much. My husband told me once that being clear is being kind. If you are not clear and then resentment is built up, that is not being kind to your spouse. It is so much kinder to let them know how you're feeling, of course, in a gentle, loving way, than letting something build and fester and making it a bigger deal than it needs to be. So one great way to do this is set up a weekly check-in where you both can share how you're feeling, what you need from each other, and ways to support one another can be a game changer. I actually have a template for a weekly check-in in my ebook, The New Mom Survival Blueprint, and I put it in there because I think it's just so important to touch base each week on a number of things. So in that template, it goes through each of the questions and areas that you should discuss each week to make sure that you are on the same page. It's so common for women, especially, yes, I'm going to call us out, to just assume that our partner knows what we need or knows what we're thinking without saying it. And I know that this can be controversial because some people do feel like, oh, well, they should just be able to look around and know that the dishes need done, or they should be able to look around and know that I need their connection because I'm feeling angry, and they should know then that I need to spend time with them. No one is a mind reader. And this goes both ways. I know my husband has in the past thought that I should know something that he was thinking. But again, to be clear is to be kind. If we just assume, that can set us up for so much failure in our relationship because we are not clearly communicating what we need. And over time, that lack of communication can just lead to distance and frustration. The next tip I have for you is to actually schedule time to connect with your partner. Schedule date night. Put a weekly meeting on the calendar. Block out 20 minutes of time that is for you to connect without phones, without the TV on in the background, where you're sitting with one another and really talking about what matters. This is just setting aside intentional time. It doesn't have to be a big night out. It can just be sitting on the couch together and drinking a cup of coffee or tea in the mornings or winding down at night, but treat it as a non-negotiable part of your routine. Prioritize your relationship even in the busyness of parenting. Try to schedule that time at least once a week, even if it's watching a movie after the baby goes to bed, or playing a game together, playing cards together, or like I said, just putting the phone away for 20 minutes and chatting. When life gets hectic, scheduled connection time ensures that you stay committed to nurturing your relationship. And the last tip I have for you is practicing patience and understanding with each other. This may seem self-explanatory, but I think having a new baby can just really try us in a lot of ways. Both of you are adjusting to becoming a parent. Both of you are learning to share your spouse with someone else, with this little baby. And by practicing patience, compassion, and grace for each other's journey, you can keep that atmosphere of love and respect alive. If one partner is really struggling with, say, lack of sleep or feeling touched out, the other can take on extra duties to support them getting that sleep that they need, or can demonstrate their love in more practical ways. If we just allow our frustration to build up and not give our partner the patience and understanding that we want, that again can lead to resentment. This period of having a new baby, having a newborn, calls for so much teamwork and so much empathy for one another, even when it feels like you have none left sometimes. So let's review some of our actionable takeaways. Set up a weekly touch base time. Commit to that 20 minutes a week to check in with each other, discuss how you're feeling, stresses you're facing, how you can support each other. That small investment of time can go a long way toward maintaining connection and communication. Another great idea could be create a list of 5-minute connections. Write down 5 to 10 things you can do together that only take a few minutes. Things like a hug, giving each other a compliment, giving a quick foot rub, or watching a silly video together. Aim to do that at least once a day, those small touch points of connection. And embrace patience and forgiveness. Make it a point to show patience with your partner and to forgive each other easily during this challenging season. Let go of the small irritations and instead choose compassion and understanding with each other. And last but not least, remember to celebrate the wins together. Whenever you have a small win, like the baby's sleeping a little bit longer, or one of you being able to make a nice meal and eating it hot, acknowledge it together. Celebrating each other's efforts creates a sense of partnership and positivity and gratitude for one another. I really hope this episode encourages you to make small, intentional efforts to nurture your relationship in this season. Keeping the spark alive doesn't have to be as complicated or grandiose as we think it needs to be. It just takes small, consistent steps to remind each other that you're in this together. If you really loved this episode and you are wanting even more resources to dive into prioritizing your relationship, I have an ebook on my website. It is called The New Mom Blueprint, Taking Charge of Your Well-Being. And there are quite a few sections in there that cover these relationship issues like setting boundaries, creating a sleep plan for you and your partner, the weekly meeting note template I talked about, and conversation starters to help you bring up maybe some difficult topics in your relationship. You can find that at abridgedtomotherhood.com/blueprint and also in the show notes. Talk to y'all next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Abridged to Motherhood podcast. I'm so glad you were here today. If you loved this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review for the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Share it with a friend or snap a screenshot and tag me on social media. If you decide to leave me a review, go to abridgedtomotherhood.com/review. That link is also in the show notes so that I can send you a little gift in the mail. Your support helps other moms to find the podcast, and it truly means the world to me. Remember, your motherhood journey deserves your care and attention. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, mama, and don't worry, I'm here to help every step of the way. See you soon.